The defense attorney started to make fun of me during my client's pretrial question and answer session known as a deposition. Do I get into a big argument and start fighting with him about what he's saying to me during the course of this deposition? You want to know the answer? Come join me for a moment as I walk through this rock formation here on this deserted island in St. Martin as I share with you the answer. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney, trying to navigate a series of rock outcroppings on this deserted island here in St. Martin. If you look in the distance, that's the French side of St. Martin, an area called Coralita Beach. My wife loves to pick seashells, and she and I walked across. It's not deep water, but it only goes up to about ankle depth or thigh depth. And now we walked across to that island behind us, which she calls Shell Island. It's got a lot of seashells and lots of rocks, but there's nothing on it. So now she made me also come to this particular little island, which is also deserted. And you can see here that it's very low tide, as if Moses had parted the Red Sea, and now we're able to walk across. It's really cool. So now come join me on this little walk as I navigate my way through these rocks to the other side of this little deserted island, and I share with you the answer to the question that I asked. During the course of your pretrial question and answer session known as deposition, I start making objections to the questions that are being asked by my opponent. And I'm objecting for very specific reasons. I believe that some of these questions are totally inappropriate, and now I have an absolute right to make an objection. Now we get into a dispute. Why? Because I tell my client, do not answer that question. The defense lawyer says, why not, counselor? I say, because it's palpably improper. He says, I believe my question is appropriate, and now he begins to make fun of me and my answer, and begins to demean me in front of my client and on the record. There's a court stenographer there to record all of the questions that are being asked and all of my client's answers. And now he begins to make fun of me. Why? Because he wants to show what a big man he is. He wants to show that he's in control of this question and answer session, and he wants to exert his dominance doing so. So now the question I raise in the title of this video is, do I start brawling with this attorney verbally and now get into a fight with him about what questions he can or cannot ask? And now he's making it personal, and he's making comments about my ability, my legal ability, to know when a question is appropriate or not. Well, I have to tell you something. Many years ago, this would happen often, where the attorneys would spar with each other verbally. And now sometimes it would get heated, sometimes it would get obnoxious, sometimes it would get so uncomfortable for the court reporter, it would get uncomfortable for the client who's now being questioned, because now the attorneys are fighting with each other over stupid nonsense. And yes, ego was a big factor in that. So you have one attorney who's got a big ego, who's making stupid, obnoxious comments. You get another attorney who falls for the bait and starts arguing with him. And now you get two attorneys who are fighting about something that has nothing to do with the case at all. And now it's become personal between the two. In that instance, what happens? In that instance, everybody else has to wait until the attorneys are done fighting. And if the attorneys can't reach an agreement on what to do next, now they have to call the court for assistance. The problem with doing that is that many times the judge who's supervising the case does not want to get involved in these petty arguments. Why? Because the judge is typically involved with his own stuff. He's now involved in reading papers, or maybe he's on trial and doesn't have the time to devote to listening to these particular issues. So now maybe the law clerk gets on the phone to try to resolve this issue. The problem is, this can get very hostile very quickly. And the real question is it beneficial to fight back and go after the attorney personally to explain how he doesn't know what he's doing? The reality is that it shouldn't be happening. Because this would happen so often many years ago, the courts in New York actually developed a rule that says the attorneys have to be professional and cordial with each other. There can be no more of this fighting because it destroys the entire environment, the litigation environment, even though the litigation environment tends to be hostile by its nature. But when the attorneys are working, now they have to work together. They don't have to like each other, they don't have to agree, but they have to be professional. And professional means you cannot sit and insult your opponent. You cannot sit and demean him. And if you do that, the attorney who does that is now subject to sanctions and monetary penalties, personally, not his client. So that's a big disincentive to go ahead and participate in this nonsense. But I have to tell you something else. You will find that the best attorneys, if insults are being thrown at them, they will likely give a couple of zingers right back. Why? Because it's natural. You think on your feet, somebody insults you, somebody says something, now you give it right back to them and move right along. And sometimes the attorney has no choice but to push back and say, hey, listen, don't go there. I know you don't know what you're doing, but go ahead and ask the next question anyway. And now all of a sudden the attorney's like, what? What did you just say? So that can happen. Should it happen? In today's day and age, no, it shouldn't happen. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to give you a sense of what really goes on these medical malpractice cases in New York. You know, I realize you're likely watching this video because you want to see the beautiful scenery. No, I realize you likely have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York and you have not yet started a lawsuit because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know I answer questions like yours every single day and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.